Lie down. Go to bed.
Go to sleep, Snoop.
Okay.
Go to sleep, Snoop. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. That'll do it. Okay. We good? Otto is not here, as you can see. Otto, well, we'll have thoughts on that. But at least Snoopy's here at the outset, and that was it. And you got a chance. This is not working. I have to admit it. Maybe as they get older, something has changed, but I can't figure out what it is. Anyway, welcome to the Fireside Chat number 280, correct, Megan?
Yes.
Number 280. You know that I'm not OCD. I don't have those tendencies, but I will admit that the fact that we missed one in 280 weeks still gnaws at me. I mean, when you're that close to complete, to perfection, you know, it's not, if we had missed 6, okay, but 1. All right, everybody. Hi. It's my chance to talk to you about what's on my mind and take your questions each week. So I got some feedback from last week's opening where I offered some thoughts about my upbringing. And Megan, tell me if I have this right, where I mentioned that at 14, my parents sort of gave up on trying to get me to do homework and schoolwork and whatever they want. How did that happen?
And for those listening on podcasts,
Otto, they rather see your face.
Otto has entered the...
Okay. So at 14, they simply decided, and there was some tension in the house, admittedly. It's all right. Not the first house in history to have any tension in it. They just decided, Dennis, we're doing what you have asked for, nothing. We will do nothing. So they became the opposite of helicopter parents. They even said, did I mention this? That they didn't even insist on seeing my report card.
No, you didn't mention
Oh,
that.
this is dramatic. Do kids still get report cards? Is that, or is it like regular updates on the internet? Anyway, we got physical report cards. What was it? I think 4 times a year. And they said, you know what? You can sign our name on your report card as if we saw it, because the parent had to sign it, that they had seen the report card. That's how thoroughly they opted out of my life, and I thrived from that day to this. It was, I could, if I knew the date that they said it, I could date my happy life and from my unhappy life. So the issue rose, you mentioned that adults you were talking to said, well, wait a minute, you know, there's got to be, I'm paraphrasing, there's got to be a middle road between helicopter parent and doing nothing, basically, just providing room and board. And because let's say, there's again, I'm quoting you from these people, how do you know what your child will do if you're not watching out? To some degree, at least.
Right.
What if they fall in with a bad crowd? So I said to you that was not a danger in my life. I did not have any attraction to bad kids. It's just not in my nature. I'm not taking any credit for it. It's not my nature. I didn't have to fight that. Secondly, I didn't have a bad crowd. I went to a religious Jewish school called a yeshiva. Not every kid was an angel, but there were no drug dealers or bad kids. Or nobody was holding up the local 7-Eleven or something. So there was no bad crowd that they had to worry about. By the way, in that regard, it was so much easier to be a parent 2 generations ago, 3, 4, 5, 6, throughout our history, at least in America, and I suspect in many countries, but I'll just speak to America. You know, if you sent your kid to school, the school had the same values your home did. The teachers shared your values. You weren't at war with society. Parents today are at war with, literally, they're at war. I don't mean shooting war, but it's literal war. There are wars without shooting. So anyway, that was not a danger, and obviously it didn't materialize. So I just wanted to comment on that. Look, there are kids where you really do have to watch what they're doing. You have to monitor their phone. Maybe they shouldn't even have a phone except for phone calls to you. The things that parents have to worry about today, that's one of the reasons, given how much you have to worry about your kid anyway, and how much you have to involve yourself in whatever it is you're involving yourself in their lives, you might as well homeschool them. When I tell you, I keep meeting homeschooled kids. They're so mature and so happy compared to other kids. Not in every single case, but in every single case I have met. So one more thing before I take your questions. I'd like to pose a challenging question to those of you worried, really worried, some cases apparently worried sick, literally, about global warming, climate change, and the whole thing. So I'd like to pose a question to you. I just saw a tweet that Greta Thunberg, the Swedish girl who's like the symbol of activism on behalf of ceasing carbon emissions, 5 years ago, she sent out a tweet, something to the effect that in 5 years, if we don't do something, or even maybe she did write it, we will be extinct. This is 5 years later, and we're not even. It's like science fiction. We're not close to being extinct. We're not moving toward extinction. So I got a very simple question. Why would you trust the people who are scaring you about the existential threat, as they put it, of carbon emissions? Why would you trust them? These are the same people who told you lockdowns were necessary, and people like me, and I was not alone at all, knew that the lockdowns were a colossal mistake and close to evil. What they did to people's lives, what they did to children by shutting down schools, the people who said shut down schools and who hurt children, let's emphasize, really, really hurt children, are the people who tell you that carbon emissions constitute an existential threat to biological life, certainly to human life. The people who said you should wear masks and you had to wear a mask, or you were thrown off an airplane, or you couldn't enter a restaurant. In fact, they shut down restaurants for quite some time, which had a terrible effect on restaurants like it did on other small businesses. Turns out the greatest reviewer of medical or scientific studies, called the Cochrane Review. I don't know if it's affiliated with Oxford, but I know that one of the lead epidemiologists of the study is at Oxford University in England, basically said that reviewing every study, and they don't have any position, they just review studies. They're essentially worthless with regard to viral transmission, and this COVID was a virus. So the people who told you to cover up and had a terrible impact on children and in my opinion, on adults. And at the time, you may recall, I said, I walked through airports without a mask. So at this point, I should just remind you that if you're watching on social media, we ask you to continue, and there's very good stuff coming up, to continue the fireside chat at pragerU.com. We never know when any given social medium will simply censor us This is the world in which we live today, tragically. So we're asking everybody to watch as much as they can of us at pragerU.com. So just go there and see the rest, and thanks.